a tweet comes out on Tuesday night from Darren Jagger from TSN, of course, saying all signs point to Brad Treliving being named as the new GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And earlier today, sort of doubling up, Frank Saravalli, our very own Frank Saravalli, saying everything just being put together in a new contract. And it seems very, 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 very likely that it's going to be Brad Treliving as the next GM. This sort of came out of nowhere, but am I stunned? Not really, Huts, because this is the first name that came to the forefront last week when all this started, right?
Yeah, it was the first name came out right away. And, we talked about that yesterday, like a lot of pressure to get something done here. Time is closing. We talk about Matthews' contract. We talk about the big four. And I believe this is going to be a different relationship he's going to have with this player, a guy who's not going to be afraid to split up that core to make a big move. You can judge his past contracts. You can go over and overanalyze everything, but what's going to be done is done. He's going to be the guy. And, there's obviously going to be the debate, was Dubas better than him? Was this the wrong decision? Was this the right decision? But you could argue a lot of those contracts that Dubas gave out too. You look at the one he gave, we're staring down the barrel of that gun right now with the Matthews deal and that free agency coming, the Marner deal, the Tavares deal. So these are things that are going to be judged on what he can do moving forward. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out here for sure.
Honestly, I don't have as much of an issue as some people do. As you mentioned, the people who love Kyle Dubas already all over social media saying what a downgrade. I don't know how you can make that proclamation when the man has done nothing. He hasn't even signed his fucking contract yet. But a couple things I'll take. Experience in a Canadian market, that should not be understated. He was in Calgary for a long period of time. He answered to ownership. That's a big thing to answer as well. Experience, has lots of connections, and personally, great with the media. Everybody I talked to in Calgary say they loved working alongside Brad Treliving. He was very convenient, very open, very good with them. I like that from a media perspective. I just think he checks a lot of boxes. I know some people point to his contracts and stuff like that, but find me a GM who hasn't signed good contracts and bad contracts, made good trades and bad trades. Not to say that Brad Treliving is vanilla, but he's sort of in between like Kyle Dubas and say like Brian Burke, over the edge, like Mark Bergevin style. And I think he's got bite. He's not scared to make big time decisions. Not to say Kyle Dubas wasn't, but I think this is a good hire for this market, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's a lot that comes with this market too, right? Outside of just the game of hockey, the contracts, the lifestyle, dealing with the media. Every day it's in your face. You're going to the grocery store. Like even Dubas talks about that, the pressure that it put on his family being in that Toronto market, where this is a guy that has the experience. He's got a lengthy resume. He knows how to manage it. And he's coming into this situation with confidence and experience. And granted, we can look at the trades he's made and dissect them, but time is going to tell. It's the same thing right now. We talk about the Chuck trade, getting Huberdeau.
Yeah.
These guys it's only 1 year into that deal, right? These are something that we've talked about. This could be a trade that they win down the road, right? There's always that longevity to a trade that, everybody wants the initial like knee-jerk reaction to what happens, but it takes time and there's a long plan. And I think he's set in place here in Toronto and he's prepared, I think, with the durability of what kind of GM he is in person to sustain it over time in this market.
At the very least, give the guy a shot. That's all I'm saying. 53 years of age, spent the last 9 years as the GM. Calgary made the playoffs 5 times, never made it past round 2. 5 different head coaches. That's the astounding thing as well, that the Flames, will be making a coaching change, and that's going to be the 6th time in 10 years when they announce who it's going to be, whether it's Mitch Love or somebody like that from the minor leagues, or they bring in somebody externally. I think it's the fascination as well. And ultimately, for me, it sort of streamlines the conversation. What does this mean for Sheldon Keefe? But when push comes to shove, I think I'm okay with the hiring. I was probably somewhere in between when it came to Kyle Dubas. I thought it was time for a change. I thought it was going to be the head coach, ends up being the GM. But I think people in general need to give Brad Treliving the benefit of the doubt. Until he proves this market wrong, I'm going to believe in the guy, man.
Yeah, that's all you can do, right? It's one of those things. We got to trust the powers that be. And,
Yeah.
it's, you look at the other side. If they take somebody that is off the market and off the grid that we don't know, that's more the analytics side of it, or an assistant GM, where does that lay? Like, you still have Prindham here. Like, does he stay? Is that still there?
Mm-hmm.
Is that still his partner? Is he gone now? So there's so many different dynamics in this market. But I do love the fact, like you spoke about, that he's immersed in the Canadian market. He understands what he's getting himself into, where he's not going to be overwhelmed by that fact. But it's going to be interesting, and I'm excited for it. I hope that this is a, the turn of the right page, and I guess like we say, we can sit here and make our decisions, but time will tell.